Everyone say hi.
It's most people. It's most of the way there.
Okay, Matt. So, to get us started, I'd like to ask you to, I don't know, introduce yourself, tell you a little bit what you're doing about your game. Just a general introduction, okay?
Sure, okay. Well, I'm Matt. I made the game Streets of Rogue, which is sort of like a roguelike Nuclear Throne meets Deus Ex meets, excuse me, Grand Theft Auto kind of thing. It's on Steam right now in early access, coming to consoles at some point, I guess. So yeah, it's been in early access since March. It was available free for about a year and a half before that. I've been working on the game for about 4 years total. Let's see. About me, I guess I have been developing the game since I was about 8 years old, but only recently successfully. So, so this is pretty cool. What's going on right now? The game has been pretty successful so far. I don't know anything specific.
Oh, Matt, we lost you there for a second.
Oh, okay.
Okay, sorry about that. Continue. Sorry, I interrupted you, didn't I?
Okay, well, yeah, kind of. I was sort of finishing up talking about myself. Yeah, I guess I don't know what you missed there, but yeah, I've been developing games for since I was a kid, and yeah, I've done indie games in the past, like before the Steam years. Worked in the industry for a little bit. Ended up having to leave the industry because I just couldn't get work at various points, and eventually just sort of got back into the indie thing just in my free time, and eventually made it a full time gig with Streets of Rogue.
Okay. And by the way, as usual, if anyone has a question, feel free to ask, okay? I'll just continue on with some of the questions that we voted on previously, but if anyone wants to ask anything, just feel free, okay? Okay, so as a segue, so you said you worked previously on AAA, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so how did you get into that? Like, how did you actually become a game developer, and how did you end up in AAA? And if you can say, what did you work on also?
Sure, yeah. Well, I went to college and I got a computer science degree at USC. And as I was finishing up, one of my professors had actually a connection at Blizzard, and so I ended up getting a job as a QA tester
Okay.
in their QA dungeon. I mean, it's a lot nicer now, but at the time they had sort of come into that World of Warcraft money, so they have a much nicer campus now. They have like an actual campus, they have just an obscure building. But yeah, I worked on World of Warcraft: The Burning Crusade for about 7 or 8 months, and then I moved back to the East Coast, which is where I'm from, and worked on a game called SimCity Societies at a company called Tilted Mill. So I was doing something called development support there, which is kind of like a little step up in QA. Just trying to work my way into like associate producer kind of roles, but ended up getting laid off after that game, and yeah, it was just sort of hard to come by work at that point. So I just ended up going into not games, which was really tough for me actually to move outside of games. I wanted to do that my entire life, but yeah, I did that for a while and just saved them money, and eventually that was sort of able to finance, my attempts at doing indie stuff.
Okay, and that's when you ended up going and deciding to do this crazy idea, which is Streets of Rogue, right?
Yeah.
And how did that come about? Like, Streets of Rogue is like a really ambitious, like, genre melting kind of a game. So, first of all, maybe you could explain a little bit what Streets of Rogue is, in case there's anyone here who doesn't know it, and how did you actually come up with that idea?
Sure, yeah. Well, Streets of Rogue, yeah, like I mentioned before, it's kind of like you can imagine Deus Ex and Nuclear Throne and Grand Theft Auto being all kind of rolled into one kind of weird, off-kilter, pixel art top-down experience. It basically strives to be a roguelike. Sorry.
No, continue.
Yeah, it strives to be like a roguelike that's also has this sort of emergence kind of. Basically, I try to let the player do as many possible things and solve solve problems in as many ways as they possibly can. Like, well, I'll tell you about how I originally came up with this idea to give you sort of, I guess, a better idea of what I was kind of going for here. So there was a game called Messiah that came out on PC about 17 years ago, and
Yeah, I remember that.
yeah, not many people remember this at this point. It was from Shiny Entertainment. It was a game where you play as this tiny little angel, and he goes into he ends up like getting thrown down into this kind of decrepit, crappy, crime-infested city. And his special power is that he can take over people's bodies. So he just jumps into them. So he can take over like a cop or a scientist, and all kinds of different characters. And I liked the concept behind this, but the issue is that there wasn't really that much differentiation between these different characters that you play. Like the scientist, you go up to the door and it's like, oh, I have scientist access for this door, so now I can go in there. Didn't actually play any difference. So I was trying to think like, what if I could take a world like this and kind of do it a little bit more, kind of add a little bit more of an emergent kind of like feel to the game. Like I came up with this scenario where you have to break into a science lab and steal a document. So I thought, okay, what if you could do it by just shooting everything, or bribing a guard and going in and stealing the document from someone's back pocket, or playing as a hacker and like hacking a computer and letting gorillas out of their cages who just come out and wreak havoc and just murder everybody, and you just go in and sit through the remains. And I thought that was really funny. And I remember I came up with this, and I was just like giggling to myself. And I was like, well, there aren't. I couldn't think of any games that would allow you to, do this kind of thing. I mean, there are games that have this sort of that kind of emergent gameplay, but definitely not roguelikes. Not where you do this kind of thing that I just described. I couldn't think of anything like that. So I was like, well, I have to make this. It's this sort of. I mean, by the way, that scenario can actually play out in the game right now. Like, that is actually a thing you can do. So it took a while to get there, but this AI is complicated. But
and the levels are generated also, right? They're all procedural.
Yeah. But yeah, I was working on another game at the time, which was like a big Metroidvania. Working on it for about a year, and within a few months, I just completely quit that to work on Streets of Rogue. Just felt like that was like the dream project right there.
Okay, that's awesome, man. How long has that been?
So it's been about 4 years. I started developing this in December of 2013, I believe.
Okay. You're now in what? You're one of the things that Matt does is he also gives like the game for everyone to test out. So the game has been testable. Anyone can try out the game right now. So how long have you had it out for actually playable?
Yeah, so the game actually got released to the public in I think October, actually about 2 years ago, October 2015. So yeah, I released like the first alpha version then, but I just wanted to make it like really small, kind of like, like it wasn't even on like itch.io or GameJolt or anything like that at the time. Eventually I put it on those sites, but at first, I made like a Take Source blog, and I think I posted about it maybe some other places, but I wasn't really super confident that the game was, what I wanted it to be at that point. So at that point, I just was not really comfortable releasing it too much further. So people didn't really start hearing about it a lot until I think around the time that it was on itch.io, and some more like bigger YouTubers started to play it. But that was really good for the process of developing the game, actually, because it did get some fans. And one of the things that I did with the game was that I put in this feedback forum where you could actually just go to the main menu at any point in the game and press feedback and just type something in, and it would send directly to my email address. And it's a really like low friction way of doing something like that. Nobody has to actually like send an email to you or fill out a form on a website or something. It's just right there in the game. And I always tell people like you should do this if you have a beta version out. Not that I never see this kind of thing in games, but it's been super useful. I mean, people report all kinds of bugs that I never would have found, and all kinds of balance issues. So yeah, I mean that's kind of been my secret weapon for extremely useful in developing a game like this, which is somewhat uncharted territory where I'm developing this genre that doesn't quite exist. It hasn't quite existed in this way before, so I don't really know what I'm doing that well. But I mean, if there's a problem, people will probably tell me about it, and I'm apt to listen to them because a lot of people have probably played this game lately a lot more than I do to work all the time. So, yeah, that was really useful development. I don't think it would have launched anywhere near as in anywhere near such a good state as it did in early access. If it hadn't been for that.
Anyone so far? Anyone has a question? No? Apparently we do. Yeah. 2 questions. Which one goes first? You can go first. Okay.
How do you deal with the uncertainty of, I don't know if you can hear me?
Can you hear him?
Yeah, I can hear.
Okay.
How do you deal with the uncertainty of working on a game that is sort of outside of established genres? Do you have like a process? How do you do it?
The uncertainty. I'm kind of just winging it, to be honest with you. I mean, like I kind of had a vision of what I wanted the game to be like at the end, and it's mostly fulfilling that vision. I guess, but it's like, I put stuff in over time, and if something really isn't working, I'll take it out. I mean, I'm kind of taking this kitchen sink mentality to it, and I think that kind of works to make up for some of the game's shortcomings. Just the fact that you can do so much in it. But I don't know, as for uncertainty, I mean, I've never really been super uncertain about what I'm aiming for as a whole. I'm not really sure exactly how to answer this.
That's awesome. That means that you have clarity, like clarity of vision. That's pretty good.
I suppose, yeah. I mean, there are certain things that I try to keep going throughout the whole development process. One of which is I try to keep everything very streamlined. It's easy when you're doing something like this, like to try and well, like one of the things that initially spurred that kind of need to do or want to do streamlining in this as much as I have was playing the original beta of Wasteland 2 when it came out. Wasteland 2 is a very complex game, but the beta especially, like the interface was just this big mess at first, and it was just so hard to get into. And I was like, man, I really want to get into this thing, and I want to explore towns and do missions and stuff, but I gotta go through all this cumbersome stuff. So with Streets of Rogue, I wanted to be able to do that kind of stuff. Explore towns, go on missions, kill people, hack things, whatever. Kind of stuff doing that kind of game, like Fallouts and the Wasteland 2s, but just make it as super streamlined as possible so anybody can play it. So that's one thing I've really tried to mind. If I have any idea for a feature that, and I think okay, well, how can I make this work so that you can do it in as simple a way as possible? And there's certain things that have had to get cut. Like, for example, at one point in the game development, you could, you could set off, you could go in your inventory, you could set off a bomb, and then you could plant it in somebody's refrigerator and then run away, and then it would and that was cool, but it's unfortunately it's one too many steps there, and it's as much as I would have liked to have it would have been cool to have it in there, but I think so few people would be able to actually pull it off, especially the controller. That's another thing. I wanted the game to be playable with controller because it's I was thinking ahead, I wanted this game to be on consoles because more market share, I guess. It's easier to make money when you release on multiple platforms. So couldn't make it too complex for that reason as well. Well, I guess that's one thing I had. One thing I'm trying to keep in mind there. Most other things, or most other, I don't know. Beyond that one thing there, it's been just kind of kitchen sinky. That's it.
Your question, man? Let me just see if I can grab you here.
I don't know if you can hear me, but I'll try to speak up like as loud as I can without making everybody deaf. But okay, so my question is, you said that you have been working on this for 4 years. I want to know if this was like full-time development or if you did it as a side project, or how did you manage that? Like, how did you set up like, okay, I'm gonna work on this, I don't know, X amount of hours? Did you have a schedule? That sort of stuff.
Yeah, so I was working a full-time job for about the first year and a half of this game was in development. And, it was just working at night. I mean, I didn't really have a whole lot of, a lot to do, outside of work. I don't have a family at this point. I don't have kids or anything like that. So, it wasn't really that difficult to find the time to do this. It's more just finding the energy after you've been, at work all day. That's the more difficult part, I suppose. But about a year and a half in, I ended up losing my job. And at that point, the game was far enough along that I could see it was actually going somewhere. And, I got a little bit of a severance package and, some unemployment. So I just decided to keep working on it. And that's when I started working on it full time. About 2.5 years ago. So right now, I mean, I don't know. I work on this a lot, like pretty much all day, every day, except going to the gym and eating and some other stuff. Probably too much. I'm in a little bit of a crunch period right now as well. Yeah, I don't know. It hasn't really been that difficult to find the time to do this, I guess. It's all I have is time right now. But,
Go on, you have a question?
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I really wish, or I was hoping you would be like, oh no, I don't know, like I have set up a schedule, like, but it seems like you just go about it however.
You're waiting for a solution.
Yeah, no, not a solution, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I was hoping, or I was thinking that maybe you had a method of sorts, or it feels like you just go about it however you feel like, and that's kind of awesome, I guess.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I wish I could give you specifics on this, but yeah, I don't really have a set schedule. I don't schedule things for myself. I'm really, I'm the sole person working on this full time. I mean, I have someone who does art for me sometimes, and I have a sound guy, Craig, who does the sound and music. But yeah, I mean, there's no. Yeah, I'm in a lucky position where I don't actually have to really schedule things out too much. It's more just like, if I'm not working, I'm not getting stuff done. So I just try to work as much as I can. Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of crunch, man. Diogo, you had a question, man?
Yeah. So you mentioned that you are crunching right now. So you must have some sort of deadlines. Your deadlines are based on what exactly? Events? Based on something that you pre-plan, since you said that you don't schedule that much. Why are you crunching, and do you feel you really need it?
Well, in this case, there is actually something coming up which I can't really talk about too much. It's a particular console conversion which may be happening toward like in a month or two. So that's the reason for this particular crunch right here. And in addition to that, it's like, here's the thing. I've been releasing bi-weekly updates on Steam Early Access. So, it's like I spent, about two of those updates just doing optimization for the game, which benefits some people. The game's all, if you have a decent computer, the game will run well. So it benefits some people who have like less decent computers. But as you may be aware, if you've done any console development, the consoles are far less powerful than PCs. So that's been kind of necessary, and people have been like, well, where's all the new content? So, I don't want to disappoint people. So in addition to prepping just for consoles, I'm also trying to get out this new content. So yeah, I'm kind of working for two. Yeah, for the audience that already exists and for the new audience. So that takes up quite a bit of time, as you can probably imagine.
Yeah, I was going to say that even if you don't have like a specific schedule, you already have an audience, so that's a schedule in itself, right?
Yeah, and people always feel they're always like, well, I've been burned by early access. All these times people get wary of these things, and if I don't release content in a certain time, they'll be like, well, why is he working on this console version? Because I also try to be very transparent with people. Like if I'm working on this, I'll tell people. I'm not just gonna be like, well, I'm just doing this optimization just because. I will tell people the reason I'm doing things, and usually that works out for the best. I mean, I think people appreciate that.
Yes.
Also,
as far as I know, you have a great community around the game, right?
Yeah. And that's really nice. I am extremely lucky for that. I mean, things are pretty active. I have a Discord. People sending me messages. There's forums also. But I don't want to disappoint people. So.
Okay, so one of the most voted kind of things we had here in terms of questions was what were your biggest hurdles, or what kind of issues did you find during the development of the game, especially considering the scope of it and the idea itself. So what was like the biggest hurdle that you came across?
The biggest hurdle, any one specific thing, and not just something that's been present over the course of development, like the entire development, would be the multiplayer. Just getting that established, because I didn't start working on the multiplayer aspect of the game until about a year ago. So at that point, the game was already 3 years into development, and originally I started off with a completely different engine. I started working with the Construct 2 engine, and about 8 months in, I switched to Unity. So trying to establish multiplayer and just keep that on top of what you already have, especially in a game that's this complex. 3 years into development like that. I wouldn't recommend that. I mean, if you're going to have a multiplayer, I'd say it's probably better to plan for that from the start rather than just try to graft it on later. Especially when you, like me, I never actually created a multiplayer component in anything. I had no idea what I was doing. So there's that aspect also. As you can imagine, that was quite a hurdle, and it was about the initial 2 months of it before I got the initial build of that out to people was probably the most stressful time of the entire development process, and just a total nightmarish crunch thing.
Sorry about that. The camera fell.
Yeah, if you're going to be put on thing, what you did earlier than I did.
Okay, and now you mentioned you're working with Unity, right? In terms of tools, what else do you actually use? Like, are you using any plugins? Do you use any extra tools to actually develop this? Because there's a lot of stuff going on here, right?
Yeah, actually I do. In fact, if you go to my website, streetsofrogue.com, there's actually, I have an FAQ, which actually has a listing of all the specific plugins that I use for the game.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, hang on a sec. I'm actually gonna go there right now so I can remember some.
If you want to, I can pull it up so everyone can see.
Yeah, I mean, like some of this stuff is just, it's like it's pretty standard stuff. Probably won't be interesting to most of you guys. Hang on a sec. But yeah, Unity. I mean, the main program is Unity, Photoshop for graphics, all pixel arts, sound. Well, I have Craig for that, so I don't do anything there. So I mean,
due to technical difficulties, we had to cut the conversation short here. However, we would like once again to thank Matt Dabrowski for accepting to speak with us. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.